6:01 on Monday, November 8th, 2021. This is the Board of Public Works meeting. We are in the library program room, and we are being recorded on MCTV. Our agenda has 6 action items: awarding contract 2022-02, redevelopment of well and replacement of well pumping at Furnace Brook 2, engineering services for the Plymouth Avenue Pump Station bypass and pump evaluation, engineering services for Dyke Road Sluiceway, water main, and sewer crossing replacement, design, and permitting, engineering services for the replacement of drainage on Surf Avenue, change order number 2, contract 2021-14, flow meter project and D&C construction. And D&C stands for?
I don't know the names.
Oh, okay, that is the company,
Always
okay.
just been D&C.
All right, thanks. Planning Board article passed at the fall, we're going to have board discussion, I'm sorry, one item, and that's the Planning Board article passed at the fall STM, which has a potential impact on and demand on our water supply and sewer systems.
Excuse
We
me,
have,
one minute, you missed this one.
I'm sorry, we had one more, I'm sorry. Extension of contract 2020-08, construction equipment, rental, and labor. Third and final year extension. Planning Board article, as I mentioned, was discussion. We have a vote to accept the minutes of October 12th, 2021. And we have a superintendent's report, which considers the update on 965 Plain Street, update on the Marshfield Hill sidewalk project, storm update from the most recent storm, capital project, which will include the installation of which is about the installing a full load emergency generator at the transfer station, and additional capital project update.
Second.
All those in favor of accepting the agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Do we know if Mr. Shaughnessy is coming tonight?
He is.
Okay.
He told me he would be here.
A little late? Oh, okay, just told you to be here,
He
okay.
just told me he'd be here.
Let's just go.
Yep, we can just proceed. I guess the first item would be Rod View, 2022.
Furnace Brook well number 2,
Oh,
pumping
2?
capacity. So we had problems with the Furnace Brook well number 2 pumping facility, actually the groundwater pump. And we had,
Proceed, yep. We opened the meeting, we approved the agenda, and Rod is on the first item under the
We all done?
actions.
yeah,
He's just on the first
He
item,
just started.
When you walked in, you took his breath away.
6:04. I was walking right behind Tommy.
so the Furnace Brook well groundwater pump was, the capacity was dropping off, at 700 gallons. Well, typically, it has been decreased a little bit when we pump it into the high zone, but for the most part, it has dropped off about 300 gallons a minute. And what happens is, even at that lower pumping rate, it causes cycling of the high head pump. It's in the treatment facility, and also it causes problems with the UV because it's constantly turning off and on. So there was a need to put that, clean that pump station and evaluate the pump itself. And right now, we conducted a bid and received 4 sealed bids on October 14th. And the lowest 3 bids were listed on your recommendation. Dennis L. Marr, Company of Sterling, Mass. was the low bid at $48,141. And our consultant, Amory Engineers, have looked at their experience and recommended that they can do the work. Staff recommends awarding contract 2022-02 to Dennis L. Marr of Sterling, Mass. in the amount of $48,141. There's a motion on the second page of that recommendation.
I just have a comment, if I might, Rod and Mr. Chairman. I believe that I was the last person to oversee the rehabilitation of this pump back in the 05-06 timeframe. And wasn't Mar the contractor at that time?
I'm not sure if it was Mar or not.
I remember doing 2 wells with him, one of which I know was School Street, and I thought the other was Furnace Brook 2.
There's a couple of Mars. I'm
Yeah.
not sure which.
I don't know whether it was this Dennis Mar, but, yep, okay.
I think it was the family business
Yeah.
that did it when you were here.
Okay, yeah.
They've since split, I think, in three
3 different.
different entities now.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, 'cause,
So it was like '07, you said, '06, '07?
it was while I was still in engineering, so it would have been, I think, '06. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. And then-
maybe finishing in the early part of
Yeah, I
'07.
did have, the last cleaning pump replacement was in 2007,
Okay, yep.
so it's due.
Oh, yes,
It's
past
gone-
due.
Past due. The only problem we have right now is for the fairground, during the emergency, with all the wind damage and the power outages, we lost the fairground pump, and that's a high zone pump with a generator, and it's offline right now, and we hope to get it back. There's been no damage to the pump itself, they've evaluated it, so we're getting recommendations on how to proceed with that.
Now, that's not tied into this,
It's
though.
not tied into this, except that we might delay that, we're gonna award it, but might delay the notice to
Well, this is
proceed
still
until we
pumping,
Figure out
okay.
what's going on, we need one of those pumps online, at least that or Union One, which, for the purpose of the generator, having that backup power. But proceeding with this, we recommend the low bidder.
So Rod, I got a question on this. On your table, you have Mars Services as the third bidder, but you don't, in the write-up, you didn't have it in the write-up.
Fourth bidder, you mean?
You had Dennis L. Ma, F.G. Sullivan, Mars Services, and then Weston and Sampson.
Okay, so, I'm
So-
sorry, I didn't.
So-
That was the third one, yeah, so.
Yes.
They were the third, they weren't I had put Weston and Sampson instead of Mars Services.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just want the record to show that we got 4 bids on this. And the record should show that there's 4 bids, and that, 2 of the bids are almost identical, and Dennis Ma is less, and Weston Sampson is more.
Yeah.
So,
Good point.
It was $57,675 shown on the attached table of bids.
yeah. So, having said that, I would like to make the motion.
Yeah, wait a minute, I have a question here.
Sure, go ahead.
Rod, just a question. The 48,000 for Ma and this Weston and Sampson is 75,000. Just a question. That's $27,000 difference. Is it worthwhile to have Weston and Sampson bid anything? I mean, that's 50% more. They just throwing out a number?
So, it depends on how busy they are.
They're probably
If
too
they've got
busy.
lots of jobs, they'll throw out a number, if they get it, they get it, they don't, they don't.
It's a waste of your time just to include.
The other two were, 56 and 57, 58, that's pretty close.
Yep.
The Elmar, the low bidder is low, we were a little bit concerned, but, that seemed to think they can do the work, so.
No, I have no question with the low bidder. It looks like Weston and Sampson just doesn't want to do.
Well, Weston and Sampson doesn't have the rig to start with. They would have to sub
They lease
everything
it.
out
Okay,
too.
all right,
So if you look at the table, John,
I see it.
you got item number 3 is a $10,000 difference.
Yep.
Yeah,
You
no,
got
I-
item number 8, it's a $12,000, $11,000 difference. That's,
I understand. It's just 75 to 48. It's just a big difference.
That was a good point.
okay,
Okay, let's do it.
If you can read it.
I'll make the motion. Any more comments? No?
No,
All right, motion to award contract 2022-02, redevelopment redevelopment of Furnace Brook
Right.
number 2, and replacement of well pump unit to Dennis Ma Company, Sterling, Mass., in the amount of $48,141, and authorize the chairman or designated to sign the documents when the documents are prepared.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And see you there.
Okay. So Dave, you want to do the next one?
Sure. Pass it down the line. Engineering services for Plymouth Avenue Pump Station bypass and pump evaluation. I don't have the enclosure on that, Rod.
I'll
No.
give you a hard copy of that if you
Yeah,
want.
that'd be good. If anybody needs a hard copy.
No, we don't have any.
No, that was
I don't know, late.
late formulation.
Came late.
Emailed it out to Anne Marie
Just wanna know,
earlier.
just
Yeah.
to- John, you can look at
Thanks,
that.
I got it,
and then-
Rod.
That's okay, Rod, he's all set and then. he'll-
No, here, I'll grab that one, thank you. Those signs.
Thanks, Anne Marie.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So this is a contract for I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one, I think.
So we're in the process of looking at the Plymouth Ave pump station, rehabbing the Plymouth Ave pump
Okay,
station.
but what we just handed out, I believe, is the ductile force main? Yep.
Proposed
Plymouth
measure
Ave Pump Station is what I got.
Okay, yes, okay, the ductile iron service main, okay, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a
Proceed.
It's a sewer force main that comes from pump station at Plymouth Ave. It probably handles about 2/3 of the flow going to the plant. Is that about right?
About right, yep.
Yeah, okay. So it's a very, it's a very important piece of the system. So when the sewage is collected from that end of town, it flows into a clear well and then pumped into the system about 1,800 linear feet away. Back in, I don't know how many years ago, was it 5, 6 years ago, more? We had problems with the Avon pump station, and similar main, I think it was 12-inch. And we had a lot of deterioration of that pipe.
It was actually 2008 that the Avon. Yeah.
So that's 13, yeah.
That's when we sank the excavator.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dave was down there all night.
Right after the meeting, when I saw the equipment maintenance truck go by Town Hall.
That's all right, yeah. I remember.
Me too.
Anyways,
all the feet?
that pump needed to be relined.
Yep.
This pump is in Plymouth Ave. It probably doesn't have the exposure that the Avon pump station had, but it's been a number of years since it was installed, and we want to look at it before we start thinking about replacing the pumps. We might want to downsize the pumps. They were designed for significant more flow than they're receiving right now. But in the meantime, we also want to take a look at this force main, what the condition is, and how much life they think is left in the force main. When we looked at Avon Street, it was paper thin in places that you could put your finger right through the main. And usually the soil around it was keeping it all together, but it didn't do that in the marsh when it broke, so. But it's in Plymouth Ave, it's accessible, but we'd like to assess that. So we propose to do probably 3 test pits, and we're going to have subcontractor, subconsultant come in and see if they can measure the wall thickness. And then at the ends of the pipes, they'll look at to see what kind of a deterioration they're EPG's been doing a lot of this. They were in Plymouth, they were the key lead consultant when they had all that problems in Plymouth. So they have some experience with this and replacement of these pipes. So I feel comfortable that they can do the work, and they've done the work before in the past. So I've attached the proposal that they provided a week or so ago, and we want to get going on this. This will lead towards actually doing the rehab of the Plymouth Ave pump station, but it's the first thing we want to jump on. We'd like to get these test pits done this season, so we can continue to evaluate the pump station, and then our first ARPA project of the 5 million is to rehab this Plymouth Ave pump station. So this would be the first thing we want to get done on this. I think they can do the work. Their proposal is $47,700, and provided a motion.
That seems good, Rod.
Yeah. I think one of the things that is worthy of mention is the fact that when you talk about the additional flow, the Plymouth Avenue pump station was developed before Sewer 2000, and the gravity does flow in there from a portion of that, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah, I would agree, it's there. Now, if the wall thickness is satisfactory, is this going to be a cured-in-place polyester pipelining type job?
It might be
Okay.
cheaper just to put in a brand-new main right next to it,
Okay, run a parallel main, okay.
depending on the price, depending on the condition, depending on the size of the main that they need.
Okay, that's the only questions I had.
Do you have a hydrogen sulfide problem down there?
They do
Yeah.
at the plant. So
I mean, at pump stations?
Yeah,
we get odors every now and then, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't we have a deterioration of the pipe there in that section?
The
Few years back.
asbestos cement pipe failed because of the fact that the ventilating system wasn't working at the time and caused hydrogen sulfide gas attack.
Right.
Yeah, back when I was engineering. Yeah. All right, any other questions?
I'm all ready.
Okay. Motion to authorize amendment to Environmental Partners Group General Service Agreement to include Task 1 through Task 4 of the proposal dated October 27th, 2021, from Environmental Partners Group LLC, Quincy, Mass., for engineering services to conduct Plymouth Avenue Pump Station force main assessment for the amount of $47,700, and to authorize the chairman or designee to sign the contract amendment when the documents are prepared. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Item number 3,
Pass that on.
engineering services, Dyke Road, Sluiceway, water main and sewer crossing, replacement design and permitting.
That one there, I'm gonna have to pass. I haven't got the information yet on that.
Okay, so we're passing over that? Okay.
Trying
Okay.
to-
Make a motion, we pass over it.
Second? Aye.
All in favor?
Aye. Number 4, engineering service for replacement of drainage on Surf Ave.
Do you have,
So,
Yep. That was another
Yeah, we get,
latecomer.
I'll get it.
This one has some.
I've got copies if you need it. Somewhere.
I got
Anybody need
the
one?
Plymouth Ave sewer.
We're all set.
I've got it.
I think we're,
Okay.
What's the time that you had on that one? 4:55?
Hang on.
Has to be.
It is 4:55,
Yeah,
correct?
I got it then.
So, Environmental Partners Group has started the design, and they've showed us 2 alternative locations, of which we didn't like either of the alignments, but it was the only place we could put them at the time. And basically, it puts the main next to the gas. We don't like having the main next to the gas line.
Definitely not.
We'd like to have, water, drainage, sewer, gas. There's also another existing cast iron main in that mix. So the road is pretty narrow as it is, and it's just a slew of pipe in there. We plan on leaving the AC main in the ground that's currently providing the water service in that area. It's on the very edge of the road. There's just not enough room between that main and the drain that's there, and that's kind of where we wanted to put the main. If we dig next to that drain, it'll fall apart. So and that drain is it's a corrugated metal drain. It's in tough shape. It does function down there, not very well, but it functions. But if we dig near it, we're gonna lose it, so we think, we're recommending we replace that drain. There's funding available to replace the drain, and the way we have it situated, we think they can, with like an 8-foot trench box, they could put the water and sewer in the same, water and drain in the same trench box and just go down the end of the road, and put it in. The drain itself is gonna be primarily a level pipe. There's just no grade down there. It's below sea level, it's flat. There's very little grade between Surf Ave and the ditch.
Yep.
As well. And we propose to increase the size of the drain in the middle, where, in the middle where we plan on connecting to, right now, there's only one outlet pipe that goes to the ditch. In the future, we plan on proposing another pipe, but if I add that other outlet pipe, I would have to go through a hydraulic analysis, and it's, for somebody to tell me they actually know what's going on over there with the dike, with the, with all that marsh.
Yep.
And everything else, and the fact that you just don't have any grades to play with, it's probably it's just not worth it.
Yep.
So for this project, we told them what size we wanted, and a pipe, and we want them to just make it work, in terms of making sure we don't have interferences with the laterals, and locating the new catch basins and manholes so that there's no interferences, and to try to minimize, and try to make it as standard as we possibly can. They've done a pretty good job so far. We've had several meetings. They come to the meetings prepared, and I'm satisfied with them so far. So we're adding about $700,000 or $800,000 with the drain here, just FYI. But it's needed in this area. Eventually, we're gonna have problems with collapsed pipes and things like that. So we wanna do it right away. What they provided me was more than just task 1 and 2. It's, once we get the design done and permitted, we will be talking about putting this out to bid. We're looking at January to put it out to bid, and once we get the bid, we'll be looking at constructing sometime in the spring. There'll be a bypass we propose, so that we provide everybody with water before we start this. There's so many unknowns right now. To this day, we still can't shut down Surf Ave. We're almost there, but not quite. We've been out there at least 5 or 6 times, looked at turning valves and flowing hydrants, trying to figure out where everything is. And there's so many interconnections down there, it's just, impossible. And sometimes they don't close the gates, so you think they're closed, but they're not, and it's just, we're getting there, but we're not there. We want to be totally confident we can shut Surf Ave down before we get a contractor on board. So he knows how to shut things down. So I'm only recommending we authorize task 1 and task 2. There's a total amount of $51,300 to do additional field survey and subsurface investigation. They want to. We did some probes out there. We found some peat. They just want to know how much capacity we have when we put all these structures in the ground. There'll probably be about 4 borings done, and they want to determine, what the blow count was and how much capacity we can that soil will stand, and then we'll have to figure out how to overdig or support the structures. And then there's the drain, actual drain design. We've been working closely with them. And so we've called, they put a little bit more effort in the water main design than they originally had budgeted for, but, so some of this design is to relocate the water line for a third time, and this is the preferred location, as the town recommends it. So, I'm comfortable in recommending that we authorize amendment number 2 for just task 1 and task 2 that's outlined in the proposal attached. And then I'll be coming back once we go out to bid, and, if there's enough money as we budgeted and to move forward, then we'll add the additional tasks for the record drawings, the contract administration, and the resident project. We have to decide on how much coverage. This is for 100% coverage, it's 111,000. We have our own inspector, and one of the engineers in our office, Tom Molinari, might be down there. So we might be able to cut this down. We haven't discussed that yet. It's gonna be based on the workload. We have a lot going on right now, between sewers and seawalls, and everything else in the water main and stuff.
Well, I have a question. In the future, for the drainage, is there any catch basins down at, where it floods down at the end of Mayflower and Surf? That always seems to be
Yeah.
some type of a,
Right, so that they may not have laterals connecting to the drain. That there might be I know there's water coming down off the seawall somewhere. It's coming.
I know,
I don't know what the source
it's
is.
been there forever.
Yeah, so we'll connect that in with some sort of a trench drain or something.
Yeah.
We'll tie it in, so it doesn't surface, and we'll get it into our drain.
Yeah, 'cause
I did have them check, John, those catch basins. They are connected, but where they go out is another question.
well, that's Mayflower and Country.
Right.
Yeah, I was
And-
thinking Mayflower and Surf. down
Yeah,
there.
but those drainage basins are all clogged.
Yeah.
Those, the different, the ones that they lined in between, those are all overgrown, need to be cleaned out.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not as bad as I thought. I mean, when you look from the road, they look bad. When you come around the backside from the yard and look up, it's not that bad. We should clean them. They're just starting to grow up through the fabric and whatnot. But I think we could do it by hand and get in there and clean it out, as opposed to getting in there with a machine.
Right.
You know,
No, that was one of the things I tried a few years back, was to get a townwide drainage permit to go in and be able to clean
yeah.
out those drainage
Like
ditches.
mosquito control, yeah.
Right, so just clearing the small little trees that have grown up would be beneficial.
they're
There is a
flat, there's no
blockage.
pitch.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, there is a blockage there, and there's gotta be a blockage further down. There's no question about it, because this water was high for a while.
I also have a question, sir.
Yep.
I have
So
one,
I have a couple of questions.
Thanks,
I
Rob.
have one question I think I need to address to Tom, and that is, I see the funding is coming out of the ARPA.
Yes.
And do we have to do anything to encumber the going forward funds?
I was gonna mention that in my superintendent's report.
Okay.
If you can wait till then, I'll
That's
give you
fine,
the
yep,
answer.
that's fine.
So I want a point of clarification.
Yeah.
Is this a water project? Is this a drainage project? Or is it all of the above? And sewer project?
It's all of the above. It's not sewer, but it's water and drain. We need to move, in order to put the water main where we're gonna put it, and to avoid having, if we didn't replace the drain, to avoid having many change orders resulting in, repairs of the drain and possibly full replacement anyways.
So this area has been a nightmare. We used to call it Bass Creek,
Yeah.
correct?
Bass Creek.
Bass Creek, and then when we were doing Bass Creek, and we bought a machine that didn't work,
Right.
and
Men's-
we said, well, maybe at some point, we might need a pump station down there,
Correct.
and we talked about pump station, and then because it's, you're pumping, and you're trying to get water that's here to go to here. I mean, if this is going to be funded by not just the townspeople, but other things, is it possible that we can visit that at some point as part of this project?
Maybe not as this piece, but I mean, you could, certainly you can add it. It'll require some permitting. Right now, I think I can.
Because you're never going to dry up Mayflower Lane without having a positive push.
Right, well, the water level, I've always told them, and many times we had the meetings that we started off, the water level's not gonna change. The water level's the water level. You're at, you know, elevation 1.
I get that.
And one of the restrictions we have is that the threshold for funding is $5 million under this program. But the program that was just voted by the Senate, I think will enable us to look at something like that because there'll be more money available.
So that's my point. My point is that if we just sit on our hands and do nothing, we're going to sit on our hands and get nothing.
Right, and, yeah, and, you know, we're gonna push for almost the whole 5 million on the 3 projects that we're recommending.
Especially if we have more than $5 million worth of projects.
Right, well, and we do.
Right, I get that.
And we do.
So I don't want to sit here and say nothing, knowing that this area's been underwater for a long time, and without a positive push to get into Bass Creek, because you can clean out Bass Creek all the time, it's just going to fill in. Without a positive push to push it along, we need to be planning for something additional to this.
Definitely a blockage downstream. I am totally convinced that water has been stacking up a lot quicker. We solved the flooding problems, the canoeing problems after, you know, 2 inches of rainfall, they'd be out there in their boats, or they tie, you know what I mean? It was bad before we replaced all the culverts. But we eliminated that, but we've never been able to lower the water. Now, lowering the water, also, you have to be very careful of, because those foundations, you lower the water table, you gotta watch out for those foundations.
Sinkholes.
Sinkholes and things like that, so.
No,
you
I
have to
get
be very
that.
Careful.
Yeah.
I know we were concerned about that when we were dewatering in there. We, you know, you just can't go and, you know, stick well points out without really looking hard at, you know, who you're affecting, because those foundations are so minimal. And there is that swamp that was filled in back then.
Well, those houses are on top of a swamp.
I have a comment to make on it. One thing to keep in mind, Rod, when we were looking at a pump, you know, Eversource thinks their 3-phase line comes down across on a paper road. You'll have to keep that in mind, because, you know, they'll be telling you you can build a pump, you've got a service connection where you don't have one.
Oh, so there's no 3-phase in that area?
When you actually, there was a paper road that came on down to Surf Avenue, and the 3-phase stopped on the other side of and all you had was a single-phase service in that area. That's all you have, and I mean, you don't want to use a single-phase pump for that kind of work. Yep. That's all I have.
So my point is, moving forward, we move this piece. Are you going to bring it up in the future?
Well, yeah, well, one thing I wanted to do was at least add one more outlet from Surf Ave. I would have included it here, but again, that prompted, we want to get this thing out to bid by January.
Yeah,
If I
fine.
gotta do way more permitting with this.
I mean, I don't want to hold things up,
It'll hold things up.
I'm just looking from a longer range, you know, back, going forward.
Right.
I mean,
We want to add at least one. We're gonna stub out 2 18 inches. Right now, it's a 15 going out of Hartford, I think it is. That's the only feed from that area there. So any water that comes over the seawall, which it does, at Constellation and Constitution, it's still coming over the top there. You know, a larger size, another outlet would really benefit that area there.
But you get the crossing of 139, and you got the two boat parcels that are over on, off of Plymouth Avenue, that goes to the outlet. And I remember at town meeting, they voted to make those residential home lots. So, I mean, we gotta do something before they start building houses, because if you're talking about foundations, it's gonna be a nightmare right there.
Well,
Because it might mean that if we have a flooding issue, we might have to go to the point of acquiring those two-piece parcels of land for some kind of pump system.
well, we had proposed a pump station at the end of Olympia. It was gonna be a 1,000-gallon per minute pump.
Yeah.
It was just there to basically remove the stagnation aspect of the, so it wasn't gonna de-water everything and keep it at a certain level.
No, I get that. It's more for
Change of water.
crisis issues.
Right.
Okay.
Anyways, that part wasn't constructed. But the first thing we would do after this project is we would propose to add another outlet to Mayflower, I think it was. There's enough room on Mayflower on the side of the road to add that, so we would get we would more than double our capacity of getting the water to the ditch,
Okay.
so.
So do you have a motion?
There is a motion.
I don't have any paper, so it's,
I got it, so I can.
so
Bob, I
Dave, you
can
do the
read it.
motion.
See it, but.
Motion to authorize amendment number 2 to contract 2021-13 to include only
That's all right,
Task
Larry.
1 and Task 2, a proposal from Environmental Partners Group LLC, Quincy, Mass., for engineering services to replace drainage collection system in Surf Ave and relocate water main for an amount of $51,300, and to authorize the chairman or designee to sign the contract amendment when the documents are prepared. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Number 5,
Leave that as Paul.
change order number 2, contract 2021-14, flow meter project to DNC Construction. Fall in the flesh.
In the flesh, yes. Not
It's
virtually.
about time you showed up for work.
Yeah,
Rod, are you done? Are you done?
anyway,
It's close.
the flow meter project, just for this, the three small satellite pump stations, Homestead Avenue, Anderson Drive, and Macro Terrace, are the stations that constitute the flow meter project. And up until this project, they did not have flow meters, so there were estimates as to what they pump based on pump hours, et cetera. When we received bids in June, there was only, the bid was constructed to allow for alternates. And since Macro Terrace was the smallest of the stations, but also had the most challenging, in a way, site work, just because of road issues on the road, it wound up being relatively costly, and it's also the smallest of the stations. So Macro Terrace was carved out as bid alternate number 1, and an enhancement to allow 3 valves at each of the 3 stations was carved out as alternate 2. We only had enough money to award the base bid, so that's what we started with. At October town meeting, we got an additional $50,000, which in aggregate with the money that's already been appropriated will be enough to allow Macro Terrace to be added and the 3 valves at each station to be added. Just as a bit of background, this sort of is a retrofit project, but the only thing that's being retrofitted are the flow meters, but they can't be put into the stations themselves. So they're gonna be put in these little offset structures, these manhole structures outside, which are gonna be below grade. And the valving enhancement allows the meter to be bypassed while the force main can still stay in operation. So, you wouldn't have to take the pump off, you wouldn't have to take the pump offline, and you wouldn't have to shut the station down if you had an issue with the meters or just needed to service them. So this has been kind of a long standing goal of the chief operator, Clint Stetson, and something that DEP's wanted to see us do. So with this done, with the adding Macro Terrace, we'll basically complete the metering of all of our wastewater pumping stations. And the 3 valves is just a nice little enhancement. So we feel that, you know, we really would like to go ahead with this and get part of, you know, a whole series of wastewater work done. So I have written a motion. The prices, I'll just mention, the prices also for this were as bid, you know, these were the bid prices. And as I mentioned, you know, we just didn't have the money at the time to award them, so.
You want to take a read of this one, John?
Yeah, okay. Any questions, John?
No, I'm all set with that.
I'm good.
That's pretty
Okay.
good.
All right, motion to approve change order number 2 in the amount of $52,400 to contract 2021-14 Marshfield Pump Station Flow Meter Project to DNC Construction. They're the construction, this is not just for the change order, this is for the, they're doing the,
This is construction.
yeah, that is the main contractor.
Yeah.
And to authorize the chairman or designated member to execute the contract documents when they are prepared. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I just add one thing to that? Paul, thank you for that work on that. But also, 2 weeks ago, I got a call from the town administrator asking me to come up with a wastewater a project that could be funded through the ARPA and the FY21 surplus spending bill. So this $50,000 I added to that, so they'll be voting on that on Wednesday. So it will be an additional 50,000, or it will be 50,000 that can go back into retained earnings.
So they'll help the ratepayers.
Exactly,
Thank you.
exactly. So we've submitted that, and I just actually got an email today, an alert telling me that I should reach out to my senator in regards to this also.
Okay,
Thanks, Tom.
item number 6. Extension to contract 2020-08, construction, equipment, rental, and labor, the third and final year of the extension.
So this is the third year. Tom Molinari's been kind of spearheading this method of getting construction projects done. We've done a lot. They did Bartlett's Island, Route 139, water main replacement there. The Longview Terrace water main, Ocean Street, Franklin, sidewalks, repaving that was done. Murdoch's Pond spillway that was constructed there on Daniels Point. And the old Main Street sidewalk and road reconstruction that we just completed up in, Old Main Street up in north end of town. So it's been working out pretty good, and this is their this will be their third year, I guess final year, and we'll have to rebid again if we plan on using this type of a contract. So we believe they've performed satisfactory. There's no increase in the prices, and it'll just be for the final third year, if you choose to recommend that they continue providing these construction services and rental equipment rentals.
Yeah.
How did we do this before we did this contract?
Pardon me?
How did we contract it?
We didn't, or we would individually call,
Project.
or we would bid each project depending on the price, depending on the procurement rules. So if it was $10,000 or greater, you'd have to,
So is this a master agreement?
sealed bids. No, they've listed all their equipment and with operators, and we kind of, together with, town forces, we, the town might provide a truck with a driver, they'll provide a truck driver or equipment operator, whatever. And Tom Molinari would be out there on site working with them to direct them on what to do. So town's kind of acting as the general contractor, more or less.
And we just hire these guys. So do we have more, is this an opportunity for more than one contractor to be on this?
Yes, sometimes they have subcontractors.
But I think, Bob, what you're getting at, is there an opportunity for other contractors in town
Correct.
to do this work? And yes, we've talked about maybe doing another contract for like water work or something like that. We've discussed it, but this was open to everybody.
Yeah.
It was advertised, and I don't think we really got anyone from in town that bid on it. None of the small contractors did.
Yeah, and I mean, I know from some discussions that, I got involved with it, part of that issue is, they don't want to get locked into the prevailing wage situation on a local basis. And the only thing I'd say is when we do go for a rebid, I believe we ought to have some carve-outs, where we set us, when we can foresee projects that are not going to be large dollars, to have carve-outs that will support the local contractors,
Right, and I think if there was if we wanted to rebid a project, we're not obligated to use them.
Right.
We did some smaller water
Right,
projects, and our concern was the bigger projects would have to be bid to, going out to a bigger contractor, that someone that's, like this Surf Ave project, for instance.
So I'm,
All the drainage we dealt with at Ocean and Plymouth Avenue was performed by these folks.
Yes, it was.
And that was where it was a very positive thing, because that would have been a bid, it would have been delayed because we would have had to go to bid. I can see this as both as one thing, but from a townie standpoint, supplementing as much as we can with our own smaller contractors on other small jobs that are under the 10,000 is what we should still continue to do.
Well, there's a
I'm sure we
process
will.
where you can get 3 quotes
Yeah.
under 50,000, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that could be,
so my.
still have to advertise
So
them.
my point is that we got a 3-year contract to one contractor to do all these big jobs,
Yes.
right? And, which is a great idea because it's like a master service agreement. You could just call them up and deal with it. But if that guy's busy, can you go to somebody else? So can they be more, my point is, I do want to take care of the local guys, but I'm also thinking that if we did have something and this guy was busy, we should be able to have something else in our toolbox to pull from somebody else, so that we can award it for more than multiple vendors.
See, one of the benefits of having this contractor is that he is DOT certified.
Yeah,
So we can use Chapter 90 money because he's been pre-qualified. So I don't know if any of the local contractors are pre-qualified with Mass DOT.
yeah, well, yeah, my point is moving forward, if you're gonna go rebid, because, I'm not talking, I'll prove this, but we should have more than one vendor available.
Definitely.
So you award it.
So more to,
1, 2, 3.
yeah, something like that line, and that way, if, depending on the type of work, we have more than,
Right, a lot of times in the past, when you bid your salt or your sand in the wintertime, you took your 2 bids, your 2 low bids, because a lot of time your low bidder can't respond. He may be too busy.
Yeah.
So you have the opportunity to go to the next bidder if he doesn't come through for you.
yeah, I just don't wanna be locked in for 3 years, that's my point.
And it's only 1 year right here.
This is
Only 1 year, but
talking about
it's
the future.
on, but it's really been
When
a
we
3-year
rebid it
contract.
at the end of this year extension, We need to take everything into
That's
consideration.
right, that's right.
And my point to John is that if, we shouldn't be locked in for another, 3-year
Another 3 years,
contract.
right.
Well, we should have multiple contractors that could be eligible for work. I mean, I know it's on a T&M basis, but there's no guarantee, but at least we'd have them available if we needed them as part of the, what's in our,
Down the road.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but my memory is we weren't locked in here. This was a contract that could be renewed. But we
Yes,
weren't, there was no obligation to renew.
Sole discretion of the
Right.
board.
of the board.
Yeah,
And then, it was to the discretion of the DPW how we used them
right.
also.
Yeah, you
We didn't have
determined
to
whether you
use
used them or didn't use them.
Right.
So it was very flexible, and I don't have a problem with the similar setup going forward, where you're granting a 1-year contract with 2 renewal options for 3 years.
that's a good idea, but I'm saying is you could have more than one contractor
I don't disagree with this.
available. That's all I was looking for.
No, I don't have
And
anything
the
more.
smaller jobs, because people are not, DCAM or DOT certified.
But we have a
because
number
the
of
local
smaller
guys-
jobs that we do, cemetery, trees and green stuff, sewer stuff, water.
Yep.
There's enough to go around and, the smaller contractors, we try to use as often as we
Yeah,
can.
okay. So, I'll make the motion to extend contract 2020-08, construction equipment rental and labor with Mass Pavement Reclamation Incorporated of Hanover, Mass. For 1 additional year, the third and final extension, starting November 15, 2020, and authorize the chairman and designated member to execute the contract documents when they are prepared. Second?
Second.
Second, John, second. Thank you.
In favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Just right there, just sign it. John, can you find out? Also, I'll put it straight.
And not to belabor this, but if there's federal money coming up and there's more funds available, we could do more work, we'll have more than one contractor to pick from. Let's spread it around. No, I understand, but you wouldn't have to go through the procurement process.
We can put another contract out, advertise now if you want to have a secondary.
Well, if we have the work coming up, we could do that, but I'm just seeing how it goes. Okay. Next item is board discussion. All right. I put this item on the agenda. Planning board articles were passed at the default STM, and I was looking for what's the potential impact in the demand on our water supply and also our sewer capability if we start getting what they were proposing at town meeting, and which was most of it was passed, for high-density development in Bramrock and the downtown. And it's Madero too, up at the high school. How's that going to affect a water supply that was basically in good shape before Moderna 1 came about, that really started putting a demand on us at that point, and now they're going to have a second project, and then we're going to have more projects in the downtown, and then more projects elsewhere in the town. So it's like, well, where is our master plan? Where is that capability? When was I remember doing the open space master plan a few years back and looking at the water supply, and that's going to be 10 to 15 years. And I'm not sure if we've updated since then. So, there's a lot of things have changed. So that's why I put it on the table for discussion.
Right. So we have not started our master plan update yet. It was funded, but we haven't started it yet. I know a lot of my consultants are way behind. But I do know that, I looked at some of the Madeira usage so far, and we don't have enough information to be able to really figure out, you know, if what they said they were gonna use is what they're actually using. We'll be sending out the bills probably within the next 2 weeks for that precinct. We'll be able to see, you know, what the readings are and maybe have well, at least one full year of use. And we can look at, you know, what they said they were gonna use and what it looks like they're currently using. Again, I don't know what the occupancy rate is up there either, so we'd have to do some inquiry there. But I know that it was using a significant amount of what water they said they were gonna use as part of their environmental impact report when they developed that Enterprise Park area. So they might have to come back and revise that EIR, I don't know. I will be contacting Pat Brennan, who was fully aware and has been working with the water management permit. So he is very familiar with, you know, what they're allowing us for water, because that's another thing. It's one thing to have the wells and the well capacity. It's the other thing is what they allow you to
Right.
use.
How much you can pump.
Well, that's the other issue, is like, is that, as I brought up, is it's been 15 years, and the last time we did an update. Lot of things have changed. You know, DEP issues have come up, the water withdrawal, everyone's on a ban, you know, somewhat of a ban in the summertime, and then we're gonna get development here, and development here, and development here, and then, you know, it's like, how about the rest of us?
With the pumping, although we have been staying under that 1 billion gallon mark. So even though you're getting some growth and added number of services, the conservation has, and, you know, because of the rates and everything, whatever it is, has kept the total consumption down below 1 billion, you know, back in the 1980s, late 80s or 90s, that we were pumping about, you know, over 1 billion.
Oh, you know, I get that, but we also have Duxbury we're feeding, Situate we're feeding, Pembroke we're feeding. So we got 3 other towns that we're covering also. It's almost like just a water district versus just a water for the town. And then if they're getting development, increasing their capacity, because, I mean, Hummerock has been, has high density condos out there. And if we're gonna have high density too, I mean, where are we going to go with this?
Right.
And I think it's time to, because the process takes so long to get it up, and we'd have to have public hearings, and we'd actually do the analysis, do public hearings, and see what kind of restrictions we have. And we might have to have a discussion with the selectmen and the planning board to, you know, say, wait a second, you know, I'm not sure if we can approve certain developments if we don't have the water capacity. And we don't know at this point what kind of capacity we do have. We have a feeling for it, but we don't have any hard numbers. And that's what I'm trying to think about, planning ahead. I mean, you know, I want to thank John and Dave for the actions we did at town meetings to stop the solar arrays to be on top of our well fields. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that, you know, these solar arrays, they need maintenance, and they need solvents, and they need cleaning, and they need fixing, and that stuff could go onto our water supply and get into our water supply, because we have large grain size sand in this town, and there's no retardation of any contamination stuck on the topsoil. It will go right into our water supply. And that's why I got up, and Dave got up, And John supported us because we're concerned that what you put on the surface of the ground gets in our water supply, and that's why we're concerned about it. So if anyone's listening, if this thing's working, I hope people listen to us, that we are very concerned about water and clean water. And our quantity and our quality go hand in hand. So without a good plan, we don't want to be caught behind the eight ball. And we have in the past.
Yeah.
In the 90s, we were behind the eight ball. So that's the discussion. I would like to hear the other board members, what they would like to say.
Yeah, and, well, water consumption and its quality is, of course, something that's right in the wheelhouse, and I'm there with you. Memory serves me, we only have one previously researched well site down in the back of the Black Mountain area toward Careswell, where we haven't developed, right? That's about it?
Pioneer well,
Yeah.
there was some, exploration out there. Some, I don't even know if they're probably functional, but some 2-inch wells were put out there. It's a small.
Right, it was not gonna be a big
well,
capacity.
Maybe 100 to 200 gallons a minute.
Yeah.
It's not, there's nothing left out there,
Yeah,
unless
That-
we want to desalinate.
Well, the other issue is Black Mountain Sewer. I mean, we have marginal issues sometimes in the Black Mountain. We don't want to lose those wells. We need to protect what we already have.
Right.
I mean, is that something, if in this master plan, that we have to look at and say, we might have to kick that project open at some point in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to look and see what we have for redundancy, and, if that well has to go offline, where do we stand?
yeah, I mean, the main concern is Webster 1. Webster 2 has lesser issues.
Maybe that new development's gonna have to fund that. Maybe that's what they do.
That's a good idea, Rod.
Yeah, whatever we wanna do there, either put
Well, the-
locally
it's-
sewer.
The only issue I have with, and I've spoken to this when I was sitting in the audience, and that's the fact that the septic system's recharge is part of what maintains the well capacities in the two Webster wells. And the issue, when I was sitting in that chair, is, when they built out that bigger section with all the nice green lawns, that's when we saw a real uptick in
Right.
the nitrates.
Yeah,
It's not just the septic systems. That's the other thing we have to somehow educate people. Keep the nitrates out. Plant clover. Don't use 4 stages.
Right.
Get the
Well, the issue-
natural nitrates.
Yeah, but in wastewater engineering,
Yeah.
nitrates are indicated that there's wastewater.
True, but it's
In there.
also in.
But there's
in this-
also- but the thing is-
It's also in the fertilizer.
Well, it's also in the fertilizer, but also, the state doesn't regulate what people use in their houses. So they could be using anything in their house.
Absolutely.
And it gets in the septic system, and then it'll get into the groundwater. I mean, we're talking about, parts per trillion and analysis, PFAS.
Yep.
We're talking about, perchlorate, before with all kinds of stuff. I mean, perchlorate's in fertilizer.
Right.
Not only in gunpowder and fireworks. There's a number of things that are in detergents and things that people use every day of the week that's being put out on the market. And, to rely on the recharge and recycling of wastewater for our well system is without some kind of treatment system on those wells, solid treatment systems to really to protect, and that's expensive. We need to really focus on that, and that's what I'm looking at from a master plan standpoint of where are we going, what do we have, what's in the bank, what is the recharge, what is the quality of the recharge as we move forward, so that we're not going to get caught in a situation where it becomes a crisis.
I agree, Bob.
Yeah.
I think we should have meetings with the selectmen, the planning board, and
Well, I think
bring
we-
it all.
the recommendation in that area was to sewer the area, but
Right.
it was very expensive.
That's the Black Mountain you're talking
Yeah, and, one of the, harking back to the PFAS right now, somewhere down the line, wastewater discharge out into the ocean or rivers is going to become regulated from a PFAS standpoint as well. So as part of that plan, that has to be looked at along with the impacts to water, and you go into a cost-benefit basis, which is the least cost alternative. Do you treat the well site to recover, and capture, or do you put in the sewer system, which maybe down the line, you're gonna have to treat and recover? Those are out there, and you gotta balance that, and that's why I agree with you, we need to update the plan.
And there's another other aspect is working with the Board of Health, is if somebody's in the Zone 2, and they have septic systems, we might have to have them do some kind of, and how close they are, do advanced treatment systems on those residents. And that the town would support an upgrade, because it's a benefit to us.
Yep.
So, I mean, we need to look at all of those things. And we're not alone,
No, the world's doing it.
because of the housing shortage and the cost of housing in Massachusetts, they're pushing for us to have high density, which is okay, because it becomes more affordable. But the thing is, from a water standpoint, a wastewater standpoint, we need to be prepared.
I agree.
Okay,
So I guess you have a charge, Mr. Reynolds, to move that forward.
Very good.
okay, vote for the minutes. Dave, want to do this one?
Sure, I will. Yeah. We had two sets of minutes, one for October 12th and one for October 18th. I have read these. I had no issues with them. I think it was in the 18th, Bob, that you were recused on the vote, because that touched base
Thank you,
on the,
Roger.
yeah,
Paul.
that touched base on the plan for the, that we discussed with the DEP. Do we have anything yet on that final? Tom?
Not yet that I'm,
Okay, so looking first at the 10-12 minutes, like I said, I'm satisfied, I had no
I read
nothing
them,
to
I'm
address.
satisfied.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the minutes as written for October 12th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved, okay. And the October 18th, I had no issues with them as well. That would just be you and me, Bob, John, rather, because Bob was recused. So I make a motion to approve the October 18th, 2021 minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approved, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you, Anne Marie.
Roll back, Tom.
Okay, so let's go over the superintendent's report. Thank you, Dave, for assisting me on this.
No problem.
So, Tom, give you the floor.
Thank you. 965 Plain Street, last Thursday, we had our kickoff meeting with the contractor, the town, owner's project manager, and the design consultant. Had about an hour meeting. We're anticipating a very quick turnaround with the submittals, their schedule, a few other things that are required, so that I actually got a call today from their site sub, looking for what he may need, drain layers licensing, who does he go to get the permitting for the septic and all of that. So we set him off in the right directions for all of those. Where it's septic, he's not gonna need a drain layers license. He'll just has to, be approved by the Board of Health to install the septic system. We're anticipating that there'll be some work out here with the drainage. So this contractor that contacted me today said that he will be preparing to come in and start the drainage. I explained to him some of the work that we've already done. Again, there was some correspondence back and forth between the OPM and the design consultant, looking for some cost relative to the work that the town did, so that we could get some credits. The Hill sidewalk,
Before you leave that, Tom, the one thing I think is worth mentioning too is, we did get a piece of good news there in that meeting on the 4th. that basically the delivery for steel for the building fabrication,
Yes.
which we had been looking at 17 months, looks like it could be late June to July timeframe, which is good news.
Yeah,
Price
and,
go down?
Price didn't go down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the fact is, at least we're not waiting another winter.
right, no, and, you know, in talking with this contractor, he seemed to think that they're gonna move along really quick, and he's anticipating getting perhaps the foundation even in place by the winter, which will be a plus.
What about the gas?
The gas, we can't do anything until the foundation's in. Actually, it's funny you asked that, because Feeney called me today and asked me if he thought it would be ready to go in 2021, and I told him probably not, depending on the foundation. I told him that once we know when the schedule for the foundation, then we can plan on the gas.
Yeah, maybe they'll put another meter up there. We gotta-
Yeah, yeah,
Do that all the time.
yeah. So that's a possibility.
Yeah, that would save a lot.
Oh, definitely. The hill sidewalk is is substantially complete. We haven't been able to get in for the crosswalks. That's the only thing that we weren't able to paint. And where we're gonna have some warm weather this week, there's a chance we might get it done this week, depending on how low it goes at night. But we had planned to do a walkthrough last week, and that was canceled because of the storm.
Really?
And so we're hoping.
Storm, what storm?
Yeah, we're hoping to catch up. So with that,
In general, it looked pretty good. I drove back through there on my way back from hockey this morning, and, the grass is starting to
The
come up.
grass is
We did
really
the
coming
planting,
in.
and then some of the people that are in love with their lawns had already planted and got it fully grown.
oh yeah, and they've got their irrigation
Oh, yeah.
in and re-put in and then blown out. So I was watching that pretty
Brad
last
White
week.
happy as Brad?
Oh, he's very happy. He's wondering when we might have a ribbon cutting ceremony. But now,
You gonna have a banquet for us?
the storm update,
Oh, just gee.
yeah. I can't give enough credit to the men and women of the department for their response to this storm last week. Cemetery trees and greens were called in on Tuesday evening, somewhere around 8 o'clock. And then highway personnel came in somewhere around 11. And at high tide was at 4:30, and at that point, I was in town, and it was pretty nasty.
Was that?
It was hurricane force winds, and funny, it was almost the exact day of the 30th anniversary of the
Yes.
perfect storm.
Yeah.
So, and it was the same type of a storm
Yeah, the no name, yeah.
as the no name and the perfect, because the way that it ramped up at the last minute, that it really wreaked havoc. And, the trees that were down, the roads that were impassable, not only because of the trees, but because of the wires. And then, once that Eversource was activated and their tree crews came in, we were kind of at their mercy, because not knowing what was energized out there. So, for safety reasons, we had to wait. And we were offered mutual aid. We did accept it, but didn't need it, because, again, we were at the mercy of the light company. And I didn't want people standing around or sitting around and where our own people couldn't do anything. It wasn't going to be any worthwhile to us to bring people in from out of town.
Until they know where the isolations are and are not, that was the only way to keep our people safe.
Yes,
That was
no.
the right decision.
Thank you. And, I mean, granted, we couldn't work around the clock because of the fact that we couldn't work in some of the downed trees. So by sending them home later at night, they were given an opportunity at least to get some rest, come back in at the first thing in the morning and start over again. We outfitted a 10-wheeler with a box, and we used our backup chipper, so we had 2 crews out clearing and chipping. We only were addressing the trees that were taken down that were in the wires. We pushed a lot of the stuff off to the side, we went back and started chipping. There's still a lot of logs on the side of the road that we don't have the resources to get them. We are putting some numbers together for tomorrow for the EOC. We're not being guaranteed we're getting any money for disaster aid, but they're putting the numbers together to see if we reach that threshold. So we're working that way. There are still a lot of trees down in certain neighborhoods. There's some private ways, Telegraph Hill, Stony Brook area, where the trees were uprooted. And we don't own that property. Those are private roads. We'll clear, and we're not taking brush from anyone's backyard. So, when we were going through the neighborhoods, people were bringing their stuff out to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But we, again, don't have the resources to pick that up. And we don't have the space to even take it and store it someplace. So, but, we've kept track of our hours, our equipment. We're stockpiling all the brush and chipping that we've done so that we can measure it, if there is going to be reimbursement. But again, the men and women of this department came through threefold. They were there when we needed them, and they stayed until we didn't need them, and they worked hard, and I'm thankful that we have those people.
So what are we doing as far as the brush that's along the side of the road that we haven't picked up or addressed?
Well,
What's the plan for that?
our crews are out every day chipping
Yeah.
the two vehicles.
Okay.
So that we're getting as much as we can on the roadsides.
So the emergency has not ended?
No,
Because
there's still
we have-
hangers that we're,
We got low hangers all over the place.
there's
And
still
we
a lot
got-
of
we got-
wires down.
We got the stuff that is not from people's backyards, but it's still in the road, on the side of the road. I mean, I see logs and I see limbs still hanging along different streets.
Right, and,
It's passable, but it's not
one
cleaned
of
up.
the biggest concerns with some of the trees that are down on the side of the road is that they may just be sticking on top of a guardrail, and just off the edge of the road. And in a snowstorm, you're not gonna see that when you're
Hit it with a
plowing.
plow.
You could rip a mirror off and things like that, so it's gonna take time, and people are calling in when they notice. I know John's been very helpful. He's located 3 or 4 different hangars that he's let us know about, and we've been able to get out and address those. But it's gonna be ongoing. Some damage to some of the ball fields. Big tree came down on the new backstop at Governor Winslow. So, getting that is off of the backstop and getting the backstop repaired for the spring. Those are just some of the little things that we have to do. But I just want to add also that the ARP money that I sent in, we had put the water main and drainage on capital and then withdrew it because we were told that we could apply it for this ARP money. And so we have the Surf Ave water main and drainage upgrade. It's roughly $2.2 million for that. The Dyke Road water and sewer upgrade, upgrading the water and sewer that goes underneath the dike, whether we mount it on the side and insulate it. That's about $425,000 for that. And then the Plymouth Ave pump station is about $2 million for the bypass, some upgrades to the building, a disinfected systems upgrade, and then the $50,000 that I have requested through the supplemental spending bill on Dyke Road.
Before you kick over, Tom, one thing I wanted to mention is, I commend you on your recommendation to us about opening the transfer station to anybody for the spoiled food. That was a good move, thank you.
Oh, thank you. No, and, I mean, that, considering the neighborhoods that were out for more than 3 days.
Yes,
you know.
I'm familiar with all of those.
Yes, so, and Marie also. So we were able to, give the people an opportunity to come in and waiver the bags and the sticker. And, but one of the problems we can't face and deal with is the amount of brush. We can't open up the transfer station to the residents without stickers to bring their brush in, because there's just no capacity.
Yeah. Question, have we made any approach to like the fire department about, whether they, will be a little more liberal with the burning permits if somebody wants to burn brush in their backyard or
I
something?
haven't talked to them about that, but I can ask the chief
Because
about
we're into the
that.
season where you can do that.
It's January 1st to May 1st, I believe, is the burn season.
But I think you can make exceptions when you get into situations.
I can
like that.
ask the chief if, I don't know if that's regulated by the state or if it's local authority.
They probably want the colder weather with snow on it.
Yeah, preferable, but
Yeah,
Everything
right now would be
wet,
not a good
damp.
idea because all the leaves and everything coming
Been
down.
dry.
well, that's-
Yeah.
people will be burning their leaves.
All
So,
I know is you gotta get burned drum.
so that's
have a bum
pretty
drum.
much it on that. And then the capital stuff, the solid waste, I'll go through the enterprise funds first, what I'm requesting for capital. Solid waste, we're looking to install a generator. Dave had talked to me about that after the storm, where we didn't have any power up there. We thought that it would be a good idea to get some backup power up there because of the scales. The staff had to sit outside in their pickup trucks just to stay warm. So I think having this generator not only will help us at this time of year, but also as the winter proceeds and the fact that we've lost power up there on a number of occasions.
What would you energize when you, under a generator system up at the transfer station?
It would be a full load, to handle the
Full
whole
load?
load. Yeah,
Full load. I'd want everything. I'd want the lights, I'd want the,
yeah.
and the scale house.
I mean, we lose revenue when the scales don't work.
Yeah, right,
because
no, I
nobody's
get
doing
that.
weigh and pay. And the other thing that concerns me is, while the deluge system for the tipping floor is set up so that you can manually initiate, because it's a dry pipe system, if there was ever a fire there, that puts one of our personnel, or a fire department personnel arriving at the site, at risk because they have to go in and actuate it, because the rate of rise, flame detectors aren't there and kicking it off automatically. And to me, that's one of the main drivers why you would want to have that.
Do we have,
Power.
three-phase power at the transfer station?
It's all three-phase
Yeah,
power.
it's all three
So
phase.
what is the capacity of a generator for three-phase power?
I think that would be probably comparable to the type of unit we just put in down at 965 for the existing building.
That or the new one we put at Furnace Brook,
Yeah.
And what's the cost of that?
about 125,000 per.
And the money's there in retained earnings, so.
Good.
And then the other solid waste request was to replace the loader,
Right.
and that's a $200,000, so a total of 325 from solid waste. Wastewater, we're looking for a total of 810,000. It's 535 to replace the Vactor, and it's 175,000 to replace the camera truck.
The intent is to get a smaller Vector this time, right?
The Vactor, we're gonna go to a six-wheel, but with the same amount of water and capacity in the
How old is the
tub.
vac truck?
The Vactor truck is, we just rebuilt the Vactor, and we're still having issues with the vacuum itself. But the truck, we're now starting to have issues with the truck. The truck is I think it's a 2010 2009 or 2010.
It was, the initiation to buy that was when Jeb was superintendent,
Right, and
back in 2007.
Then we have
I
an
think we didn't
issue
get it till
about
2
where
years
we
later.
can keep it, because you don't want to be outside.
well, we now have a
Fabric building.
facility to put it in with that fabric tent that we have up there.
Yeah.
So it's out, but the hours on the truck are actually low.
Yeah.
But the truck itself is just, it's been
Running out.
outside, there's so many little things that go wrong with it now. It's really too big for what we need. It's very difficult to fit into some of the areas that it needs to go.
So can we, my reason, my question was, is there a residue value of it?
Yes, we could probably get something on trade-in.
Yeah, if nothing else, then for the vacuum system, it's.
Right. I mean, it's, the back end of the truck is what, 4 years old?
Yeah.
And we spent $135,000 refurbishing it. So that part of the truck is still in good is
So we
in
could get a
shape.
good chunk
Yes.
of that
Yeah.
back.
And, I mean, there's also a possibility of using, maybe we ask for some general fund money, or maybe we ask for use some Chapter 90 money.
Right.
Because we can actually use that truck on cleaning basins.
I mean, we use vac trucks to safe dig the monitor wells.
Right.
So when we go out and monitor wells, we safe dig down to like, I don't know, 6 feet, so that we don't hit any utilities.
Right, all these trucks are built for hydro excavation also.
Yeah,
So they, down to about 150 feet,
yeah.
they can jet. So that's critical for our operation. Right now, we have Situate on standby because our truck's been down for 3 weeks. And if anything happens, we have to depend on Situate to show up in a timely manner. So that's where we're at with solid waste and wastewater. Water, we have a total of 835,000 in requests. 600 is for water main upgrades in the Wrexham area. We want to purchase a utility service truck for 175,000. This truck will have a 5,000-pound lift capability crane. It will have a generator, and it will also have a air compressor built into the truck. This is, I think, for a department as big as ours, a truck like this is essential, that can show up on the job and you can put everything you need for a water main break on that truck. Lighting, your air compressor, your generators, your pumps, everything. All your tools will fit in your toolboxes, your shovels, your gate keys. And it frees up, I mean, you could put 2, 3 guys in that truck to go out to a job. It's not having 3 guys, 3 trucks. So, and, you know, then that frees up the assistant foreman's truck, which is the service truck they use now. That frees that up as the backup truck if there's another break, which we've encountered more than once.
Yes, we have.
That you got more than one break at one time. Now you have 2 crews capable of having.
Why would you want to do it all in a truck? Why don't you have it in separate trailers for different type of emergencies?
It's different. The utility truck has everything you need, all your parts, that would be required when you're out on a water main break.
And having it all in the truck, the response time is quicker because you're not coupling a trailer up.
Right.
You're not moving stuff in and out of a box closed trailer or lifting it out of an open. They make a lot of difference in the field. I've watched a couple of them out in recent work someplace else, I forget where it was. I was up in Maine. And, you know, everything was right on the truck. The guy was swinging everything right off the roadway. This was in Gorham, you know, the work I saw there.
Well, that's
The other thing you
question,
had
'cause I
was
don't know.
with the generator on board, you know, that's a really nice unit to have for the AC generator, because that lets the guy, you know, you're not necessarily stuck with the heavy, motor-driven cutters and stuff like
Right.
that. You can go with electric cutters when
Well,
you're
we-
cutting pavement and the like.
And also, there's been talk about maybe putting a hydraulic system on it too, so that you could use hydraulic tools.
Yeah,
You know, cutting for pipe cutters and
Right, yeah.
things.
Yeah, they
You know,
can-
your saws.
Can't beat those.
Yeah, so it's something that makes the operation more efficient, and it gets, you cut down on the amount of vehicles you're gonna have out on a job.
Okay.
Tom, just on the funding, can we move that Spring Street monies, is like 155?
Actually, what I was gonna ask you was to use that Spring Street money. We can either do,
Sheriff?
Longview,
Okay.
or we could add it to the SURF project.
All right, as long as we, it's just.
Yeah, there's 305,000 there, I think, so it says Spring Street Water Main,
Yeah,
but
it's,
if it's for water main.
correct.
You can just.
So,
Yep.
and that was one of the things Rod wanted, and he wanted to carry that over to the Surf Ave project.
So we don't need Spring Street, we're done?
Spring Street, we're pretty much done, other than, although we did have a break out there. It was a service break, but the only thing we need to do out there, and we'll do it in-house, is raise all the gates.
Yeah.
They all have to come up.
And we pay for it out of Chapter 90?
No, we'll pay for it out of our regular operating budget,
Out of water?
out of water.
For raising the gates, right.
Right, just for raising, all it is the gate
Right,
covers,
yeah, you
just
just
have
put
to
the
be
city
lifted up.
raising it up.
Yeah,
Sounds
might have to
good,
put
Tom.
rises.
Okay, very good.
All right, so that was water.
General fund?
Next is general fund, cemetery, trees and greens. I'm requesting $350,000, $100,000 for cemetery expansion, $185,000 for Jacobson HR 800 deck mower, and $65,000 to replace truck 117, which is a Chevy 2500 pickup with plow. High engineering, we're looking for $50,000 for the old Ocean Street culvert rehabilitation and $50,000 for NEPTE's permit BMP implementation. Highway, we're looking to purchase, highway, the request was for $635,000. $70,000 to replace truck 68 with a 1-ton crew cab. That's the paving crew truck. Purchase a carpenter's van. We have a carpenter, a newly created position, a carpenter's position, who and be able to help us across the board in every division. And by having the carpenter's truck, it enables him to put all his tools in the truck. If he has to pick up lumber, he can put it in the truck. But also, that truck could also be used for another number of things. It could be used for elections to move the voting. If we need to move anything at all, we'll have an enclosed box truck to move furniture or anything that it's needed for. So I think that's an important piece of equipment to have. The other is,
General fund?
that's general fund. $300,000 for road reconstruction, and then $200,000 to purchase a wheeled excavator. After these storms, the last few years, we always seem to have an issue on roadside cleanups. And by purchasing a wheeled excavator, we have an opportunity to drive that machine over the road, but at the same time, we could buy certain pieces, attachments for it, like a grappling hook, that we could actually pick up logs on the roadside and place them in the truck. All right, we could use it for digging graves. We could use it for lifting the covers off of the vaults. All right, the backhoe cannot set. The mini excavator isn't big enough to set the whole vault. This machine would be able to set the vault. So there's a number of uses for it. It's about $200,000, and actually, the town at one point actually owned a machine, very similar to this.
Okay.
So it's, not only can you work in the street with it, but you can work off-road in it. There's a number of applications that it could be used with. And I,
So can you
don't
get a piece of equipment that you put on the side of that you can get the low-hanging branches?
you can put a,
Cutter, yep.
like
Cutter.
the boom flail.
Yeah.
A flail mower. You can put a compactor on it. There's actually like a grinder that you can fit on it that you could go into on top of a tree and come down on it and it will grind it.
So
No, I'm just thinking, there's neighborhoods like where Emery lives, there's a lot of low-hanging branches that you can't get, that can't be passed.
No, I mean, we'd have to go through there with the bucket truck.
Right.
And trim them.
Yeah,
And
limit
then
first.
everything that came down, then we would use
Okay.
Pick it up and drag it out.
machine,
Yeah.
yeah.
But how about this brush? Like if it's a roadside brush?
Well, what we would do would just pull it out, and right now, the setups we have two setups with chip trucks.
Right.
So they're blowing the chips into, the back. We have a chip truck, and then we set the 10-wheeler up.
Yeah, but I mean, on top of that, if you have larger pieces of lumber, of logging and stuff like that, large leaders off a tree, that vehicle will be the one that can pick it up and
Oh,
drop it into
yes.
the back of a dumper to haul it out.
Definitely, and actually, the new chipper we have will chip up to an 18-inch log.
Okay.
So we could actually, there's a winch on the back of the chipper that will drag the
Drag it
big
and feed it in.
logs up, but this would be able to get it close enough, or even feed,
Yeah.
that way you're keeping a human away from it,
With the storms, the way we were expecting them lately, I'd say
right?
it's justifiable.
Yeah, so what I did was I actually swapped that out, with the 10-wheeler. I pushed the 10-wheeler out one more year.
Yeah.
And added this, and I did talk to the town administrator about doing it. And he thought it was a good
You go and
idea.
update your table and give the board a copy of it?
Yes, this is the most recent update. Dan, updated it on Friday afternoon, so I can forward.
Yeah, just email it out.
Huh? Sure, we'll email everything out. And
Excellent.
it's the 5-year plan also.
Yeah, I get that.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay,
Very good.
anything else?
No, that's it.
So,
Make a
any
motion.
board members who'd like to have anything to say?
I'm good.
You're good?
Good.
All right, next meeting will be November 22nd, 2021, to Monday night, okay? I make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
it's soup.